So we made a techno song that samples the voice of the late great Aretha Franklin. We didn't clear the sample in time for our deadline, which is why today we're releasing this song for free. We are giving away this track completely free. You can download it on our website, the link is below. This is in honor of Aretha Franklin. I think most people know the story of Aretha Franklin. She was an amazing artist, an icon. But if you don't know her story, I highly recommend reading or watching the national anthem. It goes into great detail about her childhood and how she grew up around music. And it really shows how her environment shaped her into the artist that she became. A lot of people don't realize that there are a lot of similarities between Aretha and Whitney Houston. Both were extremely talented, both had rough childhoods, and both tragically passed away way too soon. I feel like Aretha got more respect and recognition than Whitney, but in many ways they had very similar careers. We sampled the Queen in a couple different places in this song. First off, the vocals, obviously, but we also sampled the drums from one of her songs. This song we sampled is called Dr. Feelgood. It's not one of her most popular songs, but it's one of my favorites. And it has some really dope drums that we flipped in this track. Now I'm going to take you through all the steps to make this track. This took us about 4 hours total to make, and we had a blast making it. So let's just get right into it. The first thing I did was look for drum samples. Now I knew I wanted to use drums from a James Brown or Aretha Franklin song, so I typed those into the search bar and then I scrolled through until I found something I liked. Now this was the first beat we tried, and I remember stumbling across this kick and snare combination when I was just browsing. I saved it because I thought it could be good. And now that we're working with an Aretha theme, I thought this would fit well. When looking for samples, it's important to look at the key of the song. For example, this song is in F major, so I want to find a James Brown or Aretha song that's either in F or close to it. Then once you find a song you like, just drag the region to your project and loop it. Then we can adjust the tempo of the sample to match our kick. Right now the tempo of this drum loop is 97 BPM and we want ours to be 128. To do that, just click this little box on the bottom left and then move the lever up or down depending on what you need. Next, I looked for a vocal sample. Now I knew I wanted something with the word ain't, but I wasn't sure exactly what to say, so I went to Genius.com and typed ain't into the search bar and then browsed through different songs until I found something I liked. In this case, I wanted something higher pitched and female, so I searched for those two things and then landed on this line from Respect by Aretha Franklin. This is such a classic and powerful line, so I decided to go with this and added it to my project. Once you have your sample, you gotta chop it up and arrange it however you like. We're trying to keep the vibe of the original song, but we're also trying to make something new. So I put the first part of the line right here and then added another instance of it towards the end of the bar. I also stretched out the last part of the line and put it on its own bar. Once I was happy with that, I moved on to arranging the rest of the song. This is where I start to find the vibe of the song. I add a few synth pads and some background vocals and then try to find the right chord progression. I'll just play around with this for a while and usually it just comes to me. This time I started with a simple progression and then switched it up a little bit after a few bars. Then I filled in the rest of the song with a few different synth stabs and some hi-hats. I also added a bass line following the root notes of each chord. After that, I worked on the arrangement and added a few build-ups with some hand claps and a string section. I also changed the order of some of these parts to keep it interesting. Here's what it sounded like at that point. Then Max came on and added his signature sound design elements. He added some bright and airy synths that really floated above the arrangement. He also added a deep and warm pad that grounded the song nicely. After that, he brought in some light percussion to add some extra flavor and groove to the track. Then he also added a subtle delay to the vocal chops, which really tied the whole thing together. While Max was doing his thing, I worked on mixing the track. I adjusted the levels of each of the elements and made sure everything was balanced nicely. I also added some reverb and delay to the drums and some EQ to the vocals. Then we all took turns adding effects and choosing which parts should come in when. We wanted to have some dynamic build-ups throughout the song, so we played around with different combinations of synth stabs, vocal chops, and percussion. We also wanted to have some breakdowns, so we removed most of the elements and just kept the beat and a few background vocals. Then we built back up to the second verse and added some additional effects like tape delay and chorus. Here's what it sounded like at that point. After that, Chris came on and started working on the master. He's the best at mastering, so he just worked his magic and made it sound even better. He added some compression and limiting to get it nice and loud, and then some saturation to give it some extra warmth. He also tweaked the EQ to bring out some of the high frequencies and add some extra punch to the low end. And here's the final result. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to download this song for free. The link is in the description. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and be sure to follow us on social media. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay safe and make good music.